Afghanistan is a landlocked country that relies heavily on its neighbours to keep its economy running. And for decades, no country has been more important to that economic lifeline than Pakistan. From trade routes and food supplies to fuel, medicines, and even humanitarian aid, Pakistan has been central to Afghanistan's economic survival. But now, as tensions rise and border closures drag on, a key question is emerging. Can Afghanistan break away from Pakistan's economic orbit, or does geography and trade reality make that almost impossible, at least for now? Let's start with imports. Pakistan is one of Afghanistan's biggest suppliers of basic everyday essentials. Most of Afghanistan's cereals, cement, and pharmaceuticals come from Pakistan. To give you an idea, more than 70% of Afghanistan's imported cereals come from Pakistan, over 40% of its cement, and around 27% of its medicines. These are things Afghanistan simply cannot produce at scale. Without these, prices shoot up, shortages appear, and an already fragile economy gets even more stressed.
I think these imports are actually quite important, not just for Afghanistan, but their exports are also equally important on the part of Pakistan as well. Remember, Pakistan has been a major contributor for medicines, for sugar, for cement. These three things, they go in abundance from Pakistan into Afghanistan. And it's not just been for the past 4 years or past 4 or 5 years. It's been there for decades, more than 50 years now. You get a sense of it just by the fact that for so many years, we saw the US invasion close to 2 decades. And there was a republic in Afghanistan. There was a so-called democratic republic or a democratic government in Pakistan, in Afghanistan at the time. And despite of the challenges that Afghanistan and Pakistan continue to face, these critical imports or critical exports from Pakistan into Afghanistan and imports from Pakistan into Afghanistan, they were never halted. If you were to do the numbers, over the past few years, we've got a 59% decrease in transit trade. Over the past few years, just in the last fiscal year, about 12% of the bilateral trade dropped down, and Afghan imports from Afghanistan into Pakistan, they were curtailed by about 40%. Again, if I am to talk numbers, there has been an incremental increase or monumental increase in Pakistan's exports to Afghanistan or imports from imports of Pakistan from Afghanistan, and just in the last fiscal year, it's been close to 103, 104 million from 59 million the year before. So fiscal year 2023-2024, we saw Pakistan's exports to Afghanistan being at 59.11 million US dollars. And then in the last fiscal year, we saw that to be at between $103.52 million. That saw about a 75% increase. So Afghan side has been, if I were to give you an example that ways, the paracetamol tablet that you get for 2 rupees in Pakistan, despite the fact that Afghani is far more strengthened to Pakistani rupee, 1 Afghan rupee is close to 4 Pakistani rupee. Despite of that, 1 Panadol tablet, 1 paracetamol tablet would cost at least 7 Afghani. So it gives you a sense about the interdependency that the Afghan side has, particularly in the pharmaceutical industry, in the pharmaceutical sector. And this will go on to affect uh, largely the common people. In practicality, while the Afghan side would want to say that they have not closed down trade, and that is something that they would want to give the posture on, but shutting down the major interdependence channel would tantamount to practically shutting down trade, A, or B, would be seen as a first step with more to come to shutting down trade.
But dependence goes both ways. Pakistan is Afghanistan's #1 export market, taking around 35 to 45% of all Afghan exports over the last decade. In just the first half of 2025, Afghan exports to Pakistan touched $277 million. These are mostly agricultural and mineral products, things Afghanistan does have in abundance. Fresh fruits like grapes and pomegranates, vegetables like tomatoes, onions and cucumbers, raisins and other dried fruits, cotton, coal beans, lentils, processed minerals like talc. And nearly all of this passes through the Torkham border crossing, which is why any closure instantly hits Afghan farmers and traders.
ये अफगानिस्तान से टमाटर बॉर्डर बंद हो गया था ना, तो उसी वजह से हम लोगों ने ईरान से टमाटर मंगवाए। अभी हम लोगों ने ये सस्ता करके बेच रहे हैं। 500-600 रुपए पे चला गया था, अभी वापस 200 रुपए किलो पे हम लोग ले आए हैं टमाटर।
The primary reason Pakistan has historically remained the main destination for Afghan exports as well as imports, in spite of political problems between the two countries, in spite of border closures and suspension of trade for days and even for weeks. I think it is the physical closeness or geographical closeness of the two nations. This closeness, this physical closeness, provides Afghan traders access to robust markets in Pakistani cities through the fastest and the most cost-effective land route through border crossings like Torkham and Chaman. Moreover, we know that Afghanistan is a landlocked country and needs access to seaports for its exports and imports from the rest of the world. So this physical closeness of the two countries makes Pakistan the shortest, fastest and cheapest route for Afghan transit trade via Karachi as well. So Afghan traders enjoy a big cost and time advantage in their bilateral trade with not only Pakistan but also in their international trade with the rest of the world through Karachi port. Since Afghanistan's transit trade flows through Pakistan, it is natural that it's natural that Afghan traders would for ease of shipment choose Pakistan as the favored destination for their exports or as a source of their imports. So the reliance of Afghanistan on Pakistan for its exports and for its exports can be gauged from the fact that Pakistan accounts for almost 41% of total Afghan export shipments. Besides economic and logistical factors, we also the two countries also have a shared history, strong tribal and family ties between people living on both sides of the Durand line, and a long-standing tradition of formal and informal cross-border trade. So that also, makes Pakistan a favorite destination for Afghan traders for their exports as well as for their imports.
A big part of this dependence is geography. Afghanistan has no direct access to the sea, so the closest and cheapest route to global markets is through Pakistan, especially through the port of Karachi. It's faster, it's shorter, and it's dramatically cheaper than the alternatives. Even today, Pakistan handles over 40% of Afghan exports and a big share of Afghan transit trade. Humanitarian aid also moves largely through Pakistan. So even when politics gets messy, the economic reality pulls both sides back together. Over the last few years, Afghanistan has been trying to reduce this dependence, mainly because of frequent border closures, political tensions, and long-standing security concerns. That's pushed Kabul closer to Iran's Chabahar port, which India helped develop. And Iran is offering huge incentives to attract Afghan traders. Lower tariffs, cheaper storage, faster handling, modern scanning equipment. Because of these perks, Afghanistan's trade with Iran has jumped to $1.6 billion, higher than its trade with Pakistan. That's also one of the reasons why the Taliban government recently told Afghan traders to start wrapping up Pakistan-linked contracts within 3 months and to find new markets and new routes.
At the moment, it would appear unrealistic for Iran and Central Asian countries to completely replace Pakistan as Afghanistan's main trade and transit route anytime soon. The geographical and logistical advantages of the Pakistani route are too significant for Afghan traders to overcome quickly. Besides diversion of cargoes from that move via Pakistan to Iran or to Iran and Central Asia involves significantly higher transport costs, longer transit time, and increased logistical risks, and these factors will make Afghan goods less competitive internationally. That said, we are also aware that Afghan government is seeking to diversify and strengthen alternative trade routes through Iran and Central Asia in recent years. This is a political and a strategic decision made by the Taliban regime in the last few years because of what they say, because of repeated border closures, trade suspension of trades between the two countries, and other factors. Some Khyber Pakhtunkhwa traders estimate that Afghanistan has already shifted at least 65% of its international trade to Iran and Central Asia. In fact, Iran has given Afghanistan huge discounts for using its ports to make up for the higher cost of transport, longer transit time. I think in the longer term, Iran and Central Asia can replace Pakistan as the main transit trade route for Afghanistan. If they continue to give to compensate the Afghan traders for their increased cost and increased transit time, and improve their port and improve their infrastructure. Well, that is the one part of this this whole decision by the Afghan authorities. The main, but in my view, the main issue for Afghanistan will be to find new markets for its goods and agriculture products it sells to Pakistan. I mean, Pakistan accounts for almost 41% of the total global exports of Afghanistan. So, secondly, the import of commodities like cement and steel fabrications from countries other than Pakistan will remain uh, will will be costlier despite port and freight discounts offered by Iran. So, I mean, let's see how things play out in the next few years. But I will conclude that trade between Afghanistan and Pakistan will continue, and if our political relationship, if our political problems are solved, and if our political relationship improve, then we may see uh, significant improvement.
The current border shutdown, which began in October 2025, has hit Afghanistan extremely hard. Here's what it's cost. Thousands of trucks stranded at the border, losses of more than $200 million from Afghan traders, perishable goods rotting in containers, coal exports coming to a standstill, rising food and fuel prices, medical shortages, and major disruptions in provinces like Nangarhar and Kandahar, which depend directly on Torkham and Chaman. But Pakistan is also suffering. Cross-border trade had kept thousands of jobs alive in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Entire industries depend on Afghan buyers. Local markets, hotels, hospitals, even schools in Peshawar's Hayatabad have long relied on Afghan customers. If this market disappears, some analysts warn that up to 90% of KP's industrial units could shut down, triggering massive unemployment. Afghanistan wants to diversify, and in some areas it already has. Iran and Central Asia are becoming more important, and Taliban officials are making bold statements about ending reliance on Pakistan. But the truth is, Pakistan is still deeply woven into Afghanistan's economy, and Afghanistan into Pakistan's. Pakistan remains the closest sea access route, the biggest export market, the fastest and cheapest trade corridor, and Afghanistan remains a major market for Pakistani goods, a source of export revenues, a key route for Pakistan's access to Central Asia.
I think it's short-lived, this interdependence, which they're trying to overtly go for Central Asia, for Iran, and even to India. We recently saw that announcement from Ariana Air, which is Afghanistan's national carrier, that they would be subsidizing the cost of imports and exports, cargo exports to and from India. It's just posturing. It's not long-term. It's not a long-term solution. It's not long-term workable. Porous borders are porous borders. They cannot be altered. No air corridor or freight corridor or other corridors can alter that reality. For years, and for I'm not saying for the past 4 years since the Taliban takeover, you go back to the COVID times. Pakistan was one of the first countries to open its Gwadar port to for Afghan transit trade, for Afghan goods, the Karachi port. And even now, if you talk to Afghan traders, they would prefer having trade done from via Pakistan than from any other routes, be that be Kazakhstan, be that be Iran, be that be Turkmenistan, and so on, because of the very complication, which is that these countries continue to remain landlocked, including Afghanistan. So I don't think so that this is a long-term workable solution. And I think eventually, and what is the eventuality? I can't predict a time frame for now, but of course the onus of that lies on the Afghan side, where they have to, and I can't emphasize enough on this point, that they have to address Pakistan's legitimate security concerns. Security is paramount to any nation, to any sovereign country, be that be to the Afghan side, the Taliban ruled Afghanistan. So until and unless the Pakistani security concerns are legitimate, Pakistani security concerns are addressed, things cannot move forward. But they will have to move forward. The two neighbors cannot be at loggerheads, cannot be at odds forever. There has to be a rethink. There will be a rethink, and the policy will be revised because of the proximity and not just the geography, but it's the proximity that allows and that enables. And I believe that there will be a rethink in time to come. How long would that be? As I said, the onus largely lies on the Afghan side.
Afghanistan may be exploring new partners. Pakistan may claim it can afford to lose Afghan trade. But geography, economics, and human connections tell a different story. For now and for the foreseeable future, the economies of Pakistan and Afghanistan remain deeply linked, whether either side likes it or not.